Hey everyone, our daily Bible reading today for St. John's United Methodist Church. I'm Dave Kopecki, and I'm very honored to be the lay leader here at St. John's. And I get to read a little bit for Andrew as he's still in Israel. And I'm reading through the book of Joshua today. And boy, we got a lot of places and names ahead of us. So I hope you are excited to get into this and see where it takes us. As we read today, we have to think of, why are these stories mentioned? Why are these places mentioned? Why are these people mentioned? Well, why was that important for the people back then to know who their ancestors were and to find their place in the world and where they had been from? You know, that's important to all of us, isn't it? To know who we are and where we came from and who our ancestors might have been along the way. I think that's still important today, and it certainly was for them back then. And then we need to ask, why are these stories still important to us today, and what can we learn from them? Maybe not a lot about a long-gone city, but whenever we read Scripture, we know that there's something important that we can glean from that we can use in our lives. So let's be looking for that today, even though we're talking about people and places many long gone. I'd like to read first a summary of this part. It says, if I were to summarize the book of Judges in one word, and we're going to be getting into Judges here real soon, it would be the word cycle. If I were to summarize the difficulty of leading the Christian life, I would use the very same word. In the film Groundhog Day, one of my favorites, Bill Murray plays a newsweather personality assigned to cover the annual Groundhog Day festivities in Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania. He discovers over the course of several days that he is actually reliving the same day over and over again. At first, this is a great thing for him. He can make a mistake, even do things wrong on purpose, take huge risks, and have a clean slate the next morning. But then after a while, he discovers that living in a cycle, that you cannot stop the source of true suffering. You can't break loose. He's condemned to live each day just as before. He repeats the same mistakes, suffers the same agonies, is haunted by the same guilt, and is followed by the same hurts. In a way, Groundhog Day is an adequate metaphor for the cyclical nature of the human condition. We too are trapped in a seemingly inescapable sinful routine. For a while we are faithful and obedient, and then temptation comes. We break away from God's best and find ourselves in a hardship of our own creation. Then we cry out to God for help and find our way back to obedience, only to slip back to our old ways again and again and again. And that cyclical pattern of sin is exactly what the book of Judges is all about. The Israelites have now conquered the promised land and have settled into their 12 tribal communities. They are now free and self-sufficient, no longer wanderers, no longer slaves. But they have forgotten the one thing: to live as God has commanded them, to live a holy and pure life, obedient to the ways of God. Indeed, and instead, they live a vicious cycle of obedience and disobedience. Sound familiar? At first, they're doing well, doing the right thing, staying true to God. And then they lapse. They fall into disobedience, failing to love God and put God first, choosing to bring harm to one another. So, God sends them a course correction, usually in the form of an army from the outside who sweeps in and conquers them. The Israelites then hit rock bottom, and they cry to God for help in repentance for what they have done wrong. So God sends a deliverer. The Hebrew Bible called them judges, not because they were administrators of the legal system, but because they were strong, charismatic, temporary leaders who conquered the opposing forces. There are Deborah and Jael, the leaders who remind us of the power of women. There's Gideon, who reminds us that God can use anyone, no matter how insignificant they seem. there is Samson, who reminds us that it is his integrity, not his hair, that was the ultimate source of his strength. 12 judges total, 12 moments of deliverance by God. And then for a period of time, there was peace again, until the next time they sinned. The book of Judges reminds us that sin is something we need to combat every day, not just one time. It requires daily diligence, a daily choice to get right with God. Well, Judges is coming up, but today we're still continuing in the book of Joshua. This is day 54 of our Bible reading. The Israelites underwent a significant identity change from nomadic warriors to settlers, from a life on the move to a life on the land. It's a crucial life transition, too. Learning to bloom where you are planted. Not being itchy to move on. How might God be calling you and equipping you to live with contentment today? Good question, and not always so easy to answer. As usual, we are going to be reading from the Common English Bible. And again, we're going to start with Joshua chapter 12. Roll up my sleeves here. Again, a lot of names of places and people, most of which we don't hear again from, and I will apologize right away for misnaming some. I'll do the best I can. Joshua chapter 12. The Israelites struck down the kings of the land and took over their land on the east side of the Jordan. This ran from the Arnon Valley as far as Mount Hermon and included the whole eastern part of the desert plain. First, there were the Amorites, King Shion, who lived in Hezron. He ruled from Aroer by the rim of Arnon Valley, and then from the middle of the valley as far as Jabbok Valley, the border of the Ammonites. This was half of Gilead. He ruled the desert plains up to the east side of the Shinoreth Sea. This ran southward in the direction of Beth Jesimoth in front of the Pisgah slopes as far as the east side of the desert plain, that is the Dead Sea, and territory next to it. Then there was Bashan King Og. He was one of the last of the Rephaim. He lived in Astoroth and Edrei. He ruled over Mount Hermon, Salis, and all of Bashan as far as the border of the Geshurites and the Mathathites, and half of Gilead, down to the border of Heshbon's king Sihon. Moses, the Lord's servant, and the Israelites struck them down. Moses, the Lord's servant, gave their land as property to the Reubenites, Gadites, and half the tribe of Manasseh. Joshua and the Israelites struck down these kings and the land and took over their land on the west side of the Jordan. This ran from Baal-Gad in the Lebanon Valley as far as Mount Halah, which goes towards Seir. Joshua gave it to the tribes of Israel as shares of property. This was in the highlands, in the lowlands, in the desert plains, in the slopes of the desert, and in the arid southern plain. This land belonged to the Hittites, Amorites, Canaanites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites. They were the king of Jericho, the king of Ai, the king of Jerusalem, the king of Hebron, the king of Jarmuth, the king of Lachish, the king of Eglon, the king of Gezer, the king of Debir, the king of Geder, the king of Hormah, the king of Arad, the king of Libnah, the king of Adullam, the king of Makkedah, the king of Bethel, there's an easy one, the king of Tupah, the king of Hepher, the king of Aphek, the king of Lasharon, the king of Madon, the king of Hazor, the king of Shemron Meron, the king of Ashshaph, the king of Tanakh, the king of Megiddo, where traditionally they placed the battle of Armageddon, the king of Kadesh, the king of Jochanim in Carmel, the king of Dor in Naphat Dor, the king of Goinom in Gilgal, the king of Tirzah, 31 kings in all. Now Joshua had reached old age. The Lord said to him, "You have reached old age, but much of the land remains to be taken over. This is the land that remains, all the districts of the Philistines and those of the Geshurites, the land stretching from the Shihor near Egypt northward as far as the Ekron territory is considered to be Canaanite. There are 5 rulers of the Philistines for Gaza, Ashdod, Ashkelon, Gath, and Ekron. The land of the Avites in the south, the whole land of the Canaanites, along with Mira, which belongs to the Sidonites, as far as Aphek and as far as the Amorite border. The land of the Gileadites and of the whole Lebanon eastward, stretching from Baal Gad to the foot of Mount Hermon, to Lebo Hamath. I myself will remove the population of the highlands from Lebanon to Mishrapoth Ream before the Israelites, that is, all the Sidonites. You have only to allot it to Israel as a legacy exactly as I command you. So, now divide up the land as a legacy for the 9 tribes and half the tribe of Manasseh. You will give it from the Jordan to the Mediterranean Sea in the west. The Mediterranean Sea is the border. I'm going to add, that's an interesting part because all this land, even though we've heard none of these names, the Jordan River, the Mediterranean Sea, places we still know and talk about today. It's part of Israel even today. As for the other half of the tribe of Manasseh, the Reubenites and the Gadites together have already taken their legacy that Moses had given them on the east side of the Jordan. It was exactly what Moses, the Lord's servant, had given them. It ran from Aroer, by the rim of the Arnon Valley, and the city in the middle of the valley, through the whole Medava Plateau, as far as Dibon. It concluded all the cities of the Amorites, King Shion, who ruled in Heshbon as far as the Ammonite border. It also included Gilead and the territory of the Geshurites and the Machalites, all Mount Hermon and all Bashan as far as Salaka, the entire kingdom of Og and Bashan, who ruled in Ashtaroth and in Edrei. He survived as the last of the Rephaim. Moses had struck down and removed them. But the Israelites didn't remove the Geshurites or the Machathites, so Gashur and Machath still live among Israel today. It is only the tribe of Levi that he gave no legacy. Their legacy consists of the fire offerings to the Lord, the God of Israel, exactly as he has promised them. Moses provided for the clans of the Reubenite tribe. Their territory ran from Aroer by the rim of the Arnon Valley to the city in the middle of the ravine, to the whole plateau as far as Medeba. It included Heshbon and all the cities that are in the plateau: Dibon, Balath-Baal-Meon, Jahaz, Kedemoth, Mephath, Kittim-Thiam, Sitma, the Veres Sheber highlands, Beth Peor, the slopes of Pisgah, and Beth Jeshimoth. It included all the cities of the plateaus and the whole kingdom of the Scythian king of the Amorites, who ruled in Heshbon. Moses had struck him down, along with Evi, Raham, Zur, Hur, and Reba, the leaders of Midian. They had lived in the lands as princes of Sihon. In addition to all these others slain, the Israelites killed the fortune teller Balaam, Beor's son, with the sword. The border of the people of Reuben was the Jordan and the territory next to it. This was the legacy of the people of Reuben for their clans, their cities, and their settlements. So you see, they're really putting out here where the tribes were to live. There is a old poem, Robert Frost poem, "Good fences make good neighbors," which reminds me that when we know exactly what is ours and what isn't ours, we can get along better with the people around us. Continuing on. For Gad, Moses provided for the clans of the Gadites. Their territories were Jazer, all the cities of Gilead, half the land of the Ammonites, as far as the Azor near Rabbah. It also ran from Heshbon as far as Ramath Mizpah and Betonim, and from Mahanaim as far as the territory of Lidiber. In the valley there was Beth Haram, Beth Nimrah, Succoth, and Zaphon. This was the rest of the kingdom of the Sihon, king of Heshbon. It included the Jordan and the territory next to it up to the tip of the Chinnereth Sea on the east side of the Jordan. This was the legacy of the Gadites for their clans, for their cities, and for their settlements. For half of the tribe of Manasseh, Moses provided for them. It was for these clans in the half of the tribe of the people of Manasseh. Their territory ran from Mahanaim, all of Bashan, the whole kingdom of Og, king of Bashan, and all 60 of the tent villages of Jair that are in Bashan. Half of Gilead, along with Ashtaroth and Edrei, cities of the cities of Og and Bashan, belonging to the prophet of Machir, son of Manasseh. It belonged to the clan for half of the people of Machir. Moses assigned these territories when he was in the Moab plains on the other side of the Jordan, east of Jericho. But Moses gave no legacy to the tribe of Levi. Again, the Lord God of Israel is their legacy, exactly as he promised them. Chapter 14. The Israelites received these inheritances in the land of Canaan. Blazer, the priest, Joshua, son of Nun, and the heads of the families of the Israelite tribes assigned them. Their legacy was assigned by lot, exactly as the Lord had commanded the 9.5 tribes through Moses. In fact, Moses had given out the legacy of the 2.5 tribes of people on the other side of the Jordan. But he gave no legacy, of course, to the Levites. The people of Joseph consisted of 2 tribes, Manasseh and Ephraim. The Levites weren't getting any portion of the land except cities to live in and pasture land for their cattle and flocks. The Israelites divided up the land exactly as the Lord had commanded Moses. In Gilgal, the people of Judah approached Joshua. Caleb, son of Jephunneh, and Kenizzite said to him, "You know what the Lord said to Moses, man of God, about you and me when we were in Kadesh Barnea. It was 40 years ago when Moses, the Lord's servant, sent me from Kadesh Barnea to scout out the land. I brought back a report to him about what I really thought. My companions who had gone with me made the people's heart melt, but I remained loyal to the Lord my God. So Moses pledged me that city. The land on which you have walked will forever be a legacy for you and your children. This is because you remained loyal to the Lord my God. Now look, the Lord has kept me alive, exactly as he promised. It is 45 years since the Lord spoke about this to Moses. It was while Israel was journeying in the desert. Now look, today I am 85 years old. I'm just as strong today as I was the day Moses sent me out. My strength then was as my strength is now, whether for war or for everyday activities. So now give me this island that the Lord promised. But if the Lord is with me, I shall be able to remove them." True, the Anakim are there with their large fortified cities, as you yourself heard that day. But if the Lord is with me, I shall be able to remove them, exactly as the Lord promised. So Joshua blessed him. He gave Hebron to Caleb, Jephunneh's son, as a legacy. So Hebron still belongs to Caleb, son of Jephunneh the Kenizzite, as a legacy today. This was because he remained loyal to the Lord God of Israel. Hebron used to be called Kirithath Arba, had been the greatest of the Anakim. Then the land rested from war. Chapter 15. The land designated for the clans of the Judahite tribe ran southward to the border of Edom. The Zin wasteland was the southern limit. The southern border ran from the end of the Dead Sea, from the bay that faces south. It went south from the ascent of Akarebim, passed to the Zin, and went south to Kadesh Barnea. It passed on to Hezron, went up to Adar, and turned toward Karka. It passed on Ezron and went to the border of Egypt. The border ended at the sea. This will be their south border. The east border was the Dead Sea as far as the mouth of the Jordan. The border of the north side ran from the bay of the sea to the mouth of the Jordan. This border went up Beth Hoglah and passed north of Beth Arabah. The border went up to the stones of Boman, Reuben's son. The border went up to Dehir on the Agkor Valley, turning north to Gilgal. Gilgal was opposite the ascent of Aduman, which was south of the ravine. The border passed on the waters of En-Shemeth and ended at En-Rogel. The border went up the valley, passed on the waters of the slope of Jezebite city, Jerusalem, on the south. The border went up to the top of the mountain that is opposite the Hinnom Valley on the west, which it is the northern end of the Rephaim Valley. The border turned from the top of the mountains to the waters of Naphthoah Spring and went to the cities of Mount Ephron. The border turned toward Bala. The border then turned westward from Bala to Mount Seir. It passed on to the slope of Mount Jearim on the north, went down to Beth Shemshah, and passed by Teman. The border went to the slopes of Ekron in the south, in the north. The border turned toward Shikharim, passed on to Mount Bala, and went to Jabneel. The border ended at the sea. The west border was the Mediterranean Sea and its shoreline. This was the border surrounding the clans of the Judahites. In agreement with the Lord commanded to him, Joshua gave a portion among the Judahites to Caleb, Jephunneh's son. It was Kiriath Arba, that is Hebron. Arba was the father of Anak. Caleb removed the three sons of Anak from there, Sheshai, Ahiman, and Talmai. They were the offspring of Anak. Then he went up from there against the population of Debir. Debir used to be called Kiriath Sefer. Caleb said, I will give Aksah, my daughter, in marriage to whoever strikes Kiriath Sefer and captures it. So Othniel, son of Kenaz, Caleb's brother, captured it. And Caleb gave him Aksah, his daughter, in marriage. And when he arrived, he prodded on Othniel into asking for a field from her father. After she had gotten off her donkey, Caleb asked her, what do you want? She said, give me a blessing. Since the land you've given me is in the arid southern plain, you should also give me springs of water. Smart lady, huh? So he gave her the upper springs and the lower springs. This is the legacy for the clans of the tribe of Judah. The outlying cities of the tribe of the people of Judah ran to the border of Edom. In the southern plain, Kazbeel, Eder, Jagur, Kina, Dimona, Adah, Kedesh, Azor, Etherson, Ziv, Telam, Bealoth, Hazar Harath, Kirath Hazam, Ammon, Shema, Molda, Hazar Gada, Hashem, Beth Peler, Hazar Shul, Beersheba, and its dependent cities, Bala, Eam, Izium, Etolad, Shel, Horma, Ziklag, Madamana, Sansana, Leboth, Shehem, Ain, and Rimmon. In total, 29 cities and their surrounding areas. In the lowlands, Edith, Eshoto, Zorah, Ashna, Zanoah, Enegim, Tupah, Enim, Zermuth, Adulam, Sukkah, Azekah, Shurim, Adathaim, Gederah, and Gederathaim. In total, 14 cities and their surrounding areas. Zena, Hadash, Meladad, Dilan, Mizpah, Zoketh El, Lakish, Bozkath, Eglan, Kibon, Labam, Chitlish, Gederath, Ben Dagan, Nama, and Makkedah. In total, 16 cities and their surrounding areas. Libnah, Ether, Ashan, Ipthat, Ashana, Znezib, Caleb, Akshzid, and Marsalah. In total, 9 cities and their surrounding areas. Ekron, its dependent cities and surrounding areas. From Ekron toward the sea, everything that was near Ashdod and its surrounding area. Ashdod, its dependent cities and surrounding areas. Gaza, its dependent cities and surrounding areas as far as the border of Egypt and the Mediterranean Sea as its shoreline. In the highlands, Shemir, Jetir, Sukkah, Dana, Kirath, Sana, Anab, Eshmo, Anim, Goshen, Holon, and Gilo. In total, 11 cities. Arab, Duma, Ishan, Zanim, Batupa, Epka, Humta, Kiriath Arba, and Zior. In total, 9 cities and their surrounding areas. Moen, Carmel, Ziph, Juta, Zezreel, Kadim, Zenoah, Cain, Geba, and Timnah. In total, 10 cities and their surrounding areas. Halhul, Bethzur, Gedor, Marath, Beth Anaf, and Ektalan. In total, 6 cities and their surrounding areas. Tekoa, Abthat, that is Bethlehem. Pure, Etem, Kulan, Taram, Suras, Karam, Galim, Bether, and Menahath. In total, 11 cities and their surrounding areas. Kereth Baal and Rabbah. In total, 2 cities and their surrounding. In the desert, Beth Arabah, Midin, Sakara, Nibshan, the salt city, and En-Gedi. In total, 6 cities and their surrounding areas. But the people of Judah couldn't remove the Jebusites who lived in Jerusalem. So today, the Jebusites are still among the people of Judah in Jerusalem. Of course, when they say today, they mean when they wrote this, thousands of years ago. Chapter 16. The land determined by Lot for the people of Joseph went out from the Jordan near Jericho eastward to the waters of Jericho. It went up by the desert from Jericho to the Bethel highlands. It goes from Bethel to Luz, passes on the border of the Arkites at Ataroth. It goes down westward to the border of the Japhilites as far as the border of lower Beth Horon and as far west as Gezer. It ends at the sea. The people of Joseph, Manasseh, and Ephraim received their legacy. This was the territory for the clans of the people of Ephraim. The border of their legacy ran from Ataroth Ador to the east of the upper Beth Horon. The border goes to the sea. Matath is in the north. The border turns east out Tanas Shiloh and passes along beneath its east of Genoa. It goes down from Genoa to Athrath and to Nara, touches Jericho, and goes to the Jordan. From Tapach, the border goes westward from the Rayan Valley, the Kana Valley, and ends at the sea. This is the legacy for the clans of the Ephraimite tribe. It includes cities set apart for the people of Ephraim within the legacy of the people of Manasseh, all the cities and their surrounding areas. But they didn't remove the Canaanites who lived in Gezer. So today, the Canaanites who are used for forced labor still live within Ephraim. Manasseh. Land was determined by Lot for the tribe of Manasseh, who was actually Joseph's oldest son. Gilead and Bashan belonged to Machir, who was Manasseh's oldest son, and Gilead's father. This was because he was a warrior. So the allotment took place for the rest of the clans of the people of Manasseh. For the people of Abazir, Hilek, Azdiel, Shechem, Hefer, and Shemediah. These were the sons of Manasseh, the sons of Joseph, the male descendants by their clans. Zelophehad was Hefer's son, Gilead's grandson, Machir's great-grandson, and Manasseh's great-great-grandson. Zelophehad had no sons, only daughters, who were named Mala, Noah, Hoglah, Mikra, and Tisra. The daughters approached Eleazar the priest, Joshua, Nun's son, and the leaders. They said, "The Lord commanded Moses to give us a legacy along with our male relatives." So in agreement with the Lord's command, they were given a legacy along with their uncles. Manasseh had 10 parcels in addition to the land of Gilead and Bashan on the other side of the Jordan. This was because the daughters of Manasseh received the legacy along with his sons. The land of Gilead belonged to the rest of the people of Manasseh. The border of Manasseh ran from Asher to Methmethath, which is opposite Shechem. The border went south to the population of Tupah. The land of Tupah belongs to Manasseh, but Tupah itself belonged to the people of Ephraim, even though it was on the border of Manasseh. The border went down by the Kana Valley. South of the ravine are those cities that belong to Ephraim, even though they were located among the cities of Manasseh. The border of Manasseh lay to the north side of the ravine and ended at the sea. What lay south of the border belonged to Ephraim. What lay north belonged to Manasseh. The sea was its border. The territory bordered Asher on the north and Issachar on the east. Belonging to Manasseh and in Issachar and in Asher were Beth-Shean and its dependent cities, Ibleam and its dependent cities, the population of Dor and its dependent cities, the population of Endor and its dependent cities, the population of Tanakh and its dependent cities, and the population of Megiddo and its dependent cities. The people of Manasseh couldn't take over these cities, and the Canaanites were determined to live in the land. When the Israelites grew strong, they subjected the Canaanites to hard labor, but didn't remove them. The tribe of Joseph spoke to Joshua. "Why have you only given us a single lot and a solitary parcel for our legacy? We are a numerous people, whom the Lord has blessed us so richly." Then Joshua said, "Yes, you are a numerous people. So go up to the forest and clear ground for yourselves there in the land of the Perizzites and Rephaim, because the Ephraimite highland is too small for you." People of Joseph said, "A highland isn't enough for us. But all the Canaanites who live in the valley region have iron chariots, both those in Bethshean and its dependent cities, and those in Jezreel Valley." Joshua then said to the house of Joseph, to Ephraim and to Manasseh, "You are a numerous people and possess great strength. You will have more than a single lot. Your highland will belong to you. Because it is a forest, you can clear it. Its furthest limits will be yours. You will definitely remove the Canaanites, even though they have iron chariots and are strong." So ends the reading today on the 54th day, February 23rd, 2023. Again, as we finish, it seems maybe to you a lot of these names, which are hard to pronounce, so far away. Most of these places, I'm sure, are not even around anymore. They're gone. But to the people then, it was important that they knew who they were, where they were supposed to be, where the boundaries were, so that they didn't overstep the boundaries. Again, Good fences make good neighbors. And with that, I wish you all a very good, pleasant evening, and I hope to see you all again real soon. Bye now.